Nadel over. Nadel over. I think I'm live. I just made it too. I was running a little late as always, folks, but I'm here comparatively on time. And welcome to my pre holiday chat. I won't say which holiday, I'll leave that to your own convictions. And Rachel Intuit is here. Hello, Rachel. So good to see you. Lance is here. How you doing, Lance? So good to see you. He says, hey, Thrash, and hello to you too. Gary Carpenter is here. He says, Merry Christmas, everyone. I am back. You certainly are. It wouldn't be the same without you, Gary. And so far, it looks like it's just we happy few. Oh, by the way, Gary, you're usually the one who tells me this. So let me be the first to inform you. Bob Burns, I'm sure his real name was Robert, but Bob Burns died. He was a famous comedian and character actor and special effects guru and sci-fi collector. Probably best known to you folks, for those of you who remember the original Ghostbusters, not the movie, uh, which later loaned itself to a Saturday morning cartoon, but the original Saturday morning live action cartoon, live action show was Forrest Tucker and Spencer Tracy. He was the man in suit who played the ape. Zuplex is here. He says, good evening. And a good evening to you too, Zuplex. So good to see you. BK on the air is here. Oh, Barry, it is so good to see you. Cannot wait for the next installment of Retro Palooza. I know it's going to be sometime in the new year, hopefully very, 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 very soon in the new year. But so good to see you. Merry Christmas to you too, my friend, and welcome to the Chiot. Gambit is here. Palfrey Gambit, go. Good to see you. Thrash, do you think that domestic life was underrated? Mine certainly was. I'm sorry, that's the best I can do on such short notice. The other one, I would only call for speculation. What else we got going on here? Gary says Tracy the ape from Ghostbusters. Yes. Yeah, did many, many, many other things. Worked with Paul Blaisdell on a lot of his sci-fi movies. I believe, The Day the World Ended was one of them, but I'm not 100%. And not all I can think of is the Larry Buchanan version. It was called Zontar Thing from Venus. The one with Peter Graves and leave-in Cleef. All I can think of is Zontar Thing from Venus, but it was called something different. But anyway, oh, Emily's here. Says, "Hey y'all," and Christopher's here. Christopher, I got the card you said. By the way, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you too. So good to see you all here. Oh, the Martin Mull. You know what? Now that you mention it, I saw a few episodes way back in the day. Anything with Martin Mull is great. I love Martin Mull. I love his delivery. I love his sense of humor. I love his ability to lampoon everything. Um, I all I have is very vague recollections, but I do remember I always loved him. I loved him in Fernwood Tonight, and I loved him. He had another show too, didn't he? I'm trying to remember later. He, of course, also did the history of white people in America. He was just amazing. But thank you for throwing me a lifeline because, yes, I was unclear when you first mentioned it. Lince's Thrash Dave is doing a membership stream at it's actually 9:30 my time. I guess it's 8:30 your time. But yes, if I'm still up, I'll drop by. If I don't make it, I have a really early day tomorrow. If I don't make it, tell Dave Merry Christmas, and I'm there in spirit. And let's see what else we get going on here. I'm actually still pretty much caught up. But oh, and Emily, your wish is my command, isn't it always? Yes, tonight's trivia, it's not particularly holiday themed appropriate, but in the spirit of the loss, it's going to be on the late great Rob Reiner. This actually may turn out to be an ongoing thing. The way we're losing celebrities left and right, each week might be a celebrity themed trivia. Ooh, that'd be ghoulish. It's not a bad idea, but it would get sad after a while to do Memorial Trivia Games. And let's just see what else we got here. Everyone's saying hello and having fellowship, which is my favorite part of the entire show. So, how's everyone's week going? Everyone ready for Christmas? I keep telling people I'm as ready as I'm going to be. What did uh Anthony Gary worked with Rob Reiner? I did not know that. My wife was more of a fan of his than I was. Well, not Rob Reiner, a huge Rob Reiner fan. But I never really watched the whole General Hospital, never did the whole Luke and Laura thing. No, no offense. No offense to people who did, and no offense to people who were involved in it. But I just never get caught up in it. Uh, Good way to say hi, everyone, all at once. Yes, yes, Lance, definitely, definitely. And Palfrey says the last thing I remember Maul in was Miranda's secretary in Mrs. Doubtfire. He played the role without humor, though. Martin Mull, I think he did that best when he played a role absolutely straight. I think somehow it was funnier. He could certainly lampoon, but when he used to play like the hard ass type, and when he did that absolutely straight, I think it was very funny. He was in Mr. Mom. He played Terry Gar's boss in Mr. Mom, and yeah, he played it straight in there as well. Zublix doesn't celebrate Christmas. More than understand, my friend. Emily says, dude from the IT remake who played adult Eddie Kas Kasparak died today. From the remake, I remember it was by the same people who did Community, if I remember correctly. But I don't really recall watching the show. But that's very. Do you know what we lost him from? Do you know what caused him to pass? Gary says Martin Mull was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Yes, yes, he was. He was the voice of Kitty Cat. Yes, he was. But I believe he also had a live action part here, there, and everywhere as well. Oh, and of course, yes, he was Colonel Mustard, Major Mustard, some officer Mustard in Clue. And Emily says Martin as a gay dude on Roseanne was hilarious. Yes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fred Willard played his husband. Puffy says, Gary, I didn't watch Sabrina, but I believe you. Gary says, heathen. Specifically to Zuper. And then he goes on to Palfrey. He says he was in Clue. Yes, he certainly was. Uh, Rachel says, now I have Think of Laura running in my head. DeBarge, I believe. DeBarge. Uh, Emily says, it, the Pennywise movies. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm such a buffoon. I thought you meant IT, the TV show. It was a BBC show about these two geeks who do IT. There was an American version by the people in the community, but you're talking it. Oh, Emily, I'm so sorry. We had a similar situation the other day, but movies. I haven't seen those either. I'm sorry. I just can't warm up to the whole it thing. Probably because I was actually afraid of clowns as a kid. But you'll have to ask Mama Thrash on that one. Palfrey says Clue was way before Sabrina. Oh yeah, Clue was in the 80s. I saw Clue in the theaters when I was in high school. And speaking of Pennywise, um, as you know, Tim Curry was the butler in that. Who are you? I'm the butler. What do you do? I buttle. And Emily says Martin Mull was not the voice of Salem. I'm so sorry. It must have been another voice actor, but when I hear his voice, I hear. Of course, I haven't seen Sabrina the Teenage Witch. My daughter watched it when she was in middle school, so we're going back, almost 30 years. But not you know, but he was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I do remember him in person. But Nick Backhay was Salem. That name rings a bell. He was a voice actor who did other cartoon characters, so I can't place now, but Nick Backhay. But thank you for playing the role of Indy Spouts so far tonight while we wait for him to show up. Emily, you are aces. Gambit says, yes, Gary Reiner and Gary were in the same episode of All in the Family and died on the same day. Odd. Um, you mean Rob Reiner, I assume. But I'm not one to split hairs. And Lynn says, R.I.P. Buck Rogers. Yes, Gil Gerard. We lost as well. You know, Gil Gerard did one of the most amazing documentaries on science fiction I ever saw in my life. I think I was like 14, 15 when I saw it. It was like, I always love sci-fi, but it made me appreciate it. Chris says, Bob, if you do and all the family trivia, I will probably get all of the questions right. Challenge accepted. And yet, Gary loves Buck Rogers. And Emily says, forgot about him, Lance. Oh, yes, very sad, very sad. Oh, he was the principal in the school? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I haven't seen the show in close to 30 years. And again, I used to watch it just because it was on when I was like in the living room. But um and Lance says, wonder if he went to the 25th century. And speaking of the devil and the devil appeared. Ironic. Great minds think alike. What's your excuse, Thrash? Indy shows up and he says, speak of the devil. And the devil appears. Welcome to the show. Indy, of course. My flock is everywhere. Is here. Sister Sarah says, hi, Pawns. Hello to you as well. Zuplik says, the thing that I remember most was Martin Mull's mustache. Indeed. And Sister Sarah is speaking more or less in emojis, but we all know she's saying everyone like, subscribe, and have a wonderful time. And Emily says, I was a huge fan of Sabrina in the 90s and the reboot just a few years ago. The young man who played Ambrose on that series and went on to play a character in Gen V died in a motorcycle accident. Oh, I'm very sorry. That's very sad. And Gary says Martin Mull was on Roseanne as the restaurant owner. Yes, he was. And he was in a sketch comedy show when I was in college. It wasn't his show, but he used to do appearances on. Martin Mull was just always great. Love Martin Mull. Love Martin Mull. And Gambit says the guy that played Gloria's boyfriend, he was like a Forrest Gump type. But then the next year, he was playing Anne Romano's boyfriend in One Day at a Time. Yes. What was his name? Yes. I remember. Yes, I remember him. I can't think of his name to save my life, but I know you're talking about. I'm sure Indy will know. Lynn says, I remember Gil Gerard in a TV show, Sidekicks with Ernie Reyes Jr. Forms Contender says, was it Paul Mazur? That sounds right. Indy will confirm. Paul Mazur does sound right. He did a couple episodes of MASH. He was in The Thing. He was in John Carpenter's The Thing. He played the dog kenneler. Gambit says he was the train master in Heaven's Gate as well. I don't think I ever saw Heaven's Gate. Richard Mauser. Okay. It's a cat and Mauser game. We're playing a cat and Mauser game. And Forbes consent concedes. Oh, and my flex says, love your thumbnail. Yes, thank you. Thank you. That was one of the ones you gave me ages ago. I did a little personalizing, but thank you so much. And he says, you're thinking of Richard Mauser. Yes, yes, we certainly were. And Emily says he was also in the original T movie of IT. You see what I did there? I'm teasing. I'm teasing. And Gary says, I'm pretty much sure that Gil Gerard was on Charlie Angels. May have been, but again, this must have been like 80, 81, somewhere around there. Yeah, it had to have been because Empire Strikes Back had just come out. And Gil Gerard, it was a made for TV documentary about the history of science fiction in movies and television. And it was one of the most comprehensive, entertaining, and informative things I've ever seen. And I've looked for it for years. For years. And it's not on YouTube, it's nowhere. It's I don't even think it's in his IMBD. But anyway, it was an amazing, amazing documentary for you sci-fi buffs out there. Oh, and yes, yes, Richard Mauser was the Princeton representative from Risky Business, and he says Princeton could use a guy like Joel. Sometimes just gonna say, "What the heck?" And Gambit says, "I think All in the Family did every topic before any other show except for the mod." Yeah, I think you might just be right. I think, although that was discussed on one episode of All in the Family, but I think Mod may have done it first because they were running consecutively at one point. Emily says Gambit Norman Lear was the epitome for groundbreaking TV shows. He certainly was. He certainly was. And Lynn says, remember the egg in Risky Business? Oh, there's a crack in it. Yes, yes, there's a crack in the egg. And she later went on to marry Leonard Cohen. Yes, the young lady in that went on to marry Leonard Cohen. And I always wondered what he was always so upset about. But that's another story. But yes, tonight's trivia will be on Robert Reiner. And when we get to it, which will probably be sooner rather than later. Gary says Norman Lear created All in the Family, Maud, and the Jeffersons, and Good Times as well. And Lynn says, "Are you ready for me, Ralph?" No one's ready for you, Ralph. um, but is everyone ready for the holiday? Those of you who celebrate it, I understand. Zerplex is abstaining. Gambit says Reiner was basically playing himself on All the Family. He wasn't quite as much of a slacker as Meathead was, but that's another story. Imagine celebrating your 100th birthday and then finding out the son of a dear friend was killed. I know. I guess it's very sad. I guess Dick Van Dyke is inconsolable. He's very, very upset by it. And Riddle said, no, Lear did not create Good Time. Good Times wasn't Norman Lear. I could have sworn Good Times was Norman Lear. I could be wrong, because I thought that was the joke that because Florida originally worked for Maud and got her own show, and the joke being because Maud was set in New York, and Florida and her family then were featured in Chicago. That was one heck of a commute. But anyway, I will defer because I've been a lot of misses tonight. I've been wrong a whole lot. So and Zublik says, Meathead. And Len says, I'm being chased by Guido the Killer Pimp. Oh, here's Mrs. Thrash. Everybody say hi, Mrs. Thrash. She had to work today and is very tired and took a refreshing nap. Are you refreshed? She is not refreshed. Well, hit the refresh button. Where was it? Oh yeah. Gambit says Mike Evans created. It was yes, it was. I'm sorry, Mike Evans was the creator of it, but I thought it was produced by Norman Lear. But yes, and Mike Evans apparently based a lot of it on actual events in his youth. And thank you, Norman Lear produced it. Okay, so I think we've ironed that out. Ironed that out. It was the intellectual property of Mike Evans, but a production of Norman Lear. And I apologize if I glossed over that. And yes, good catch. Mike Evans also was one of the Lionels. There were at least two. Someone said there was three. I can only think of two, but he was one of the Lionels. But there you have it. And neither one of them were trains. And yes, that lens, that's a very good scene in the subway in Risky Business. And Emily goes on to say, Gambit, different, Mike Evans. I could have sworn, I thought we covered that. I thought he, the person who wrote for, and was the creative consultant, wrote for Good Times, was also the actor who played in The Jeffersons. I could be wrong, but I thought we covered that once and ironed it out. But of course, you know me and my silly misconceptions. And then he says, Hi, Mrs. Thrash. She's actually left the room, but I'll pass it on to her. And Rachel said, Yes, Lear directed Good Times, but didn't create it. As we've discussed, a lot of people saying, Zublik says, Hello, Mrs. Thrash, as does Lance. Chris says, My dad and I stopped doing Christmas 6 years ago when we lost my mom. I'm very sorry to hear that. Very, very sad. I'm very sorry. Gambit says, it literally says Mike Evans and Eric Monte in the opening credits. Yeah, that's what I thought too. It's possible there's another person with the name Mike Evans, but no, I honestly believe it was the same Mike Evans. Um, in the opening credits, as discussed. And Triple says, Sorry for your loss, Kenneth. It's Christopher. And Chris, thanks. And Lynn says Norman Lear and John Amos butted heads over Jimmy Walker. Well, yeah, because originally the show was supposed to be, it was supposed to be like Father Knows Best. But what happened was because Jimmy Walker was such a popular character, he got more screen time. Emily says I could be wrong. God knows I could too. And Gary says Norman Lear did create Good Times, Archie Bunker's Place. And but again, it was based on the works of Mike Evans, and he was given a creative credit. It's rare but not unheard of. Oh, Tracy's here. Bubble. Tracy, how you doing? She says, Hi, Robert. How you, Tracy? So good to see you. And Gary says, Hi, Mrs. Thrash and Mrs. T. Oh, I get you. Mama Thrash is my mother, and Mrs. Thrash is the Mrs. And my mother is lurking in the shadows, but not here. But I'll pass that on as well. She might be watching. She often watches the show. To make sure I don't say anything disparaging. And let's just say, I think we're more. Oh, and Indy says, It is the actor Mike Evans, and there have been three Lionels, but one was recent. Very, Indy, this is why we love you. This is why we love you. Thank you. So we can close the books on that. Good Times was created by Mike Evans, who did play one of the Lionels in The Jeffersons, of which there were three. Now we can all go on with our lives. Super because, but his moniker is Kenneth. Yes, the way it works is Kenneth is the father. Very nice man. He's taken me to lunch a couple of times. Kenneth is the father, and it was his account. So Christopher uses the father's account. He's taken to answering to Kenneth, but as I've met the two of them personally, I keep the names straight. Wasn't correct to use Blix. You know I love you. Muy cariño. And Rachel says, "Good Times is one of my all-time favorites. I always loved Good Times. I loved Good Times when it was on in first run. I still love it to this day." And Tracy says, "Hi, Zuplex, and Land, Emily, and Gary, and Chris." I'm assuming that meant Lance. And Gambit says, John Amos said that the white writers didn't know how to write for an all-black show, and that's why he was mad. Oh, you got that a lot, actually. In fact, I saw recently it was an interview from, well, it had to be from way back. Man's been dead for decades. Red Fox, when he first started doing Sanford and Son, the white writers were trying to write in black slang, and he was like, "Don't do that. We'll know how to inflect. We'll know how to use appropriate slang. Just don't. Just write it like you normally would, and we will write the inferences. I believe they had more black writers as the show went on, but yes, it was a bone of contention for John Amos. Yeah, and Land says yes in that too. And Ziplik says, I believe he was right. Yes, I'm sure. Yes, he was. He was. It's funny when you watch the earlier seasons, the dialogue feels much, much, much more forced. They were much more fluid later on. One of the funniest bits they ever did though is when they were going to bus Michael to an all white school and he had no idea how to talk to white people, which is I just talk to them normally. But he was very self conscious, and JJ tried to show him. Well, it's very simple. You talk to white people. It's you just when they ask you like who you are, you just say like hello. I am Michael Evans of the Mississippi Evans. And it was just so funny. And I remember watching it with like my best friend and his mom at the time, and they were in hysterics. And I look at them and I go, we don't talk like that. And they go, we know that's why it's so funny. Live and learn. I love being reduced to a cultural stereotype. But he was pontificating, so I lost. Here we go. Tracy says, I was at my mother-in-law's funeral last week. Oh, again, Tracy, Bubba, we're very, very sorry for your loss and pass it on to your husband, please. Christopher says, I think Dave did a video on a different Mike Evans. Entirely possible. And Lynn says, my name is Land now, Tracy. There you go. That's how nicknames get started. And Gary says, I just finished watching a Jefferson's Christmas episode where George dressed as Santa. Um, I don't know if I remember. I remember the Jeffersons. I don't remember that specific episode. And I'm a coming, Elizabeth. This is the big one. And a lot of people having fellowship. Gary says Sanford and Son had one Christmas episode, a parody on A Christmas Carol. I do remember that one. I do remember that one where Lamont was each of the three ghosts. And Lynn says Tracy Dave is on at 8:30. Members stream. And Tracy says, I always like the reference that they used to make on Good Times, like the department store, Marshall Fields, and bringing up Michigan Avenue and stuff like that. That's kind of near to see that on. Yes, it was set in Chicago. And I do recall them making references to various uh, geographical locations in the Chicago area. As I'm not familiar with Chicago, I'm sure they meant way more to you than to me. The only part of Chicago I've ever seen is the airport during a layover, but it must have been funny. Like shows set in Boston, although some of the more hoodsy neighborhoods I'm not familiar with. It's actually funny. I don't know on SNL. This is a few years ago now. When they were making all those movies set in Boston, they were doing a spoof movie called Boston Accent. And two cops on the phone. How about we meet in Revere? Nah. How about we meet in Everett? Nah. How about we meet in Walden? Nah. How about we meet in Brockton? And he says Brockton like that. And if you've ever been to Brockton, you'll understand. Nah. But it's like, this goes on for 17 minutes. For some reason, every movie set in Boston has to give you a geographical lesson in Boston geography. So where was I? A lot of people saying, sorry for Tracy's loss. Yes, for you and your husband. I'm very, very sorry. Gambit says, the living room sets of Good Times and One Day at a Time look very similar. I never, ever ever noticed that. I'll look next time. I never ever noticed it. But of course, the thing about Good Times is it was all concrete because it were those project buildings that were basically like, well, all made out of concrete, almost like dorms, almost like dorm buildings. I mean, they very well could have been the same way in uh I was just talking about it, One Day at a Time. They may have used paneling or something, but Zublik says the irony, Gary, is that actually did happen to Red Fox. Well, men did have heart trouble. It is synchronistic. And Gary says, does he? Yep, I saw that. And he says, Gambit, they also had both. I'm sorry. They also had both had unrealistically responsive supers. That's a really good point. Although Schneider had a heart of gold, Bookman was a slacker. Was a slacker, but yes, they both had two that spent more time schmoozing than actually doing their job. And Gambit says it was supposed to be a representation of Cabrini Green in Chicago. I did not know that. Emily says, speaking of airports, Greg Biffle, his daughter, his wife, and their son died in a plane crash near here. Huh. That's sad. Oh man, I am so sorry. I am so plane crashes are something I have a thing about. I'm sorry, but it's very sad. Sorry. So it says, so true, Indy. I know from personal experience living in such an apartment in Brooklyn. Ah, yes, we have spoken about that. We have spoken about that. And you've told me the name of the neighborhood and the school on several occasions, and I can't think of it to save my life. Apologies. And Gary says, Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie use the same kitchen. That's a riot. And Lynn says, Where's Cindy D? Sean, Lisa, Liz, Dom, only 257 and 420. Wonderful question. We haven't seen, well, we've seen them sporadically, but hopefully we'll see them all very, very, very soon. This time of year, a lot of people have like plans, you know. Oh, and Kevin's here. He says, Hey, Thresh. Kevin and I had a wonderful time talking about the Back to the Future franchise. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. Someone please give a link to Kevin's channel. Oh, Teb is here. Teb is here. Says, Hi, Thrash. Happy Sunday before Christmas. Yes, happy Sunday before Christmas to you too. You're just in time for trivia. I'll be starting at any minute now. Emily says, Gary, it was the same neighborhood. Dr. Bellows lived in the Stevens home. You're kidding. And a lot of people saying hi to Kevin. Rachel says, when Red Fox died, they thought he was joking. I believe that. I believe that. That's a riot. It's very sad, but I believe it. Just a quick hello to say, hey, have a Merry Christmas and the best in 2026. I will see you in 2026. Thank you for stopping by. And Gambit says, I remember that horrible remake of Sanford with Dennis Berkeley. I don't recall that. I'll take your word for it. And Teb says, would you please consider doing Rob Runner themed trivia in the wake of his tragic death and at the hands of their own son last week? Ask you shall receive. Tracy says, before I left for Florida, they tore down those buildings. Now it is high priced property. It's turned into Huey Town. Gentrification, huh? And Gary says there's a video floating around on YouTube on actors in plane crashes, several of them. Biffle was a NASCAR driver and helped helicopter in supplies after Helena. Again, very sad. And he says to Rachel, the problematic heart attack. You may want to look up the fate of comedian um, Platypus. That also happened to Dick Shawn, if I remember correctly. He was on stage, and of course, he was known for his improvisation. And he said something about, let's do a little follow the leader or something. And then fell brum dead right on the stage, and people thought it was part of the act. And, like, I guess his nephew or someone was actually in the audience and finally went, Something's wrong. Pardon my typing, no worries. Pardon my reading. So the book says nowadays you have to pay 10 times the rent to live in the same unit. Cossacks. And Emily says to Teb, that's the plan for tonight. It certainly is, miss. It certainly is. And Lance, I can't type either. And Gary says Shemp Howard died in a taxi from a heart attack. Yeah, we was just talking about that earlier today. And Ziplik says he was also piloting the aircraft. Emily, oh, he was. Oh, that's even sadder. Oh my god, I can't. I just can't. Emily says he wasn't the pilot when he was killed. Oh, well, now I'm slightly less sad. And Gambit says Gary Shemp was a lot funnier than he got credit for. You know what? I've had that conversation on many, many times. Shemp was very funny, very expressive, had great comedic timing. It was just the fact that people really, really, really loved Curly. So anytime you saw Shemp, you didn't get Curly. So it was kind of a disappointment. If there had been episodes where they omitted one of the other two, and Shemp and Curly got to work together, I'm sure those would have been amazing. There is one episode that had all four of them. But Curly basically has a walk on. Well, actually, he's not walking; he's asleep. But yeah, no, Shemp. Well, you people forget Shemp was the original leader of the troop. Well, Ted Healy was the impresario that brought them together, but their act, it was when it was still the Brothers Act and stuff like that. Shemp was the main. Uh, they weren't called the Stooges at the time; they were called something else. But he was the main character of the triumvirate. It kind of fell in around Mo because Mo just did that that his like rage um so well. I heard somewhere it came from when he was bullied in school. I shouldn't laugh; it's very sad. But they grew up in a terrible, terrible neighborhood, and he was bullied probably by the goyim. And anyway, he had like he could like flash rage really, really well. Shemp just couldn't, even though I guess he could be a righteous stone green bastard what he wanted to be. Supposedly the story goes the eye poke was something that he actually did. They were playing cards or something, and one of the brothers was cheating, and he didn't actually poke him in the eyes, but he pushed him back with his hand, and the guy fell through the patio window. And Mo saw it and thought it was the funniest thing he had ever seen in his entire life. So it worked into the act as the eye poke, but I'm not sure any of that is true. I'm just going to catch up because I'm pontificating again. Tracy, thank you for the link. Gary says, "Yep, but I've always loved Krillin." Yak, yak, yak. This is where we came in. And Gambit says, Dick Shawn was on a Three's Company episode shortly before his death. I don't recall it, but I take your word for it. The Curly Shuffle, I have that on 45 somewhere. I still have a copy of that from like 1984. Rachel says, let's play trivia now. As soon as I'm caught up, I promise, as soon as I'm caught up, we'll do trivia. Uh, Emily forgot Stewie was Terrell. That's why I reminded you. My lady. Gary says, Gambit, he was in the mad, 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 mad world. And a year without a Santa Claus, he was. That's right. Teb says Tony Geary, Luke from General Hospital, passed away last week at the age of 78. He certainly did. Gary loved that song. Oh yeah, Lance did change his name. He changed his name to Stewie, and he says Curly was a lot more sympathetic. I suspect it had a lot to do with the fact that he looked like a giant baby. That was his nickname. His actual name was Baby. The mother called him Baby because he was the youngest, so she always called him Baby, and he hated it. He hated it. Um, uh, I guess he got the name Curly because when he was doing a stage act, he grew out a goatee and had this like long, luxurious curly hair. But when they had him shave it because they thought it'd be funnier, but decided curly it would be ironic funny. Uh oh, I know this one, Zuplex. What kind of name is Shemp? He had he had a nickname like Shrimp or something. I forgot. Someone gave him a nickname, and the mother, whose English wasn't very good, couldn't pronounce it. So whenever she tried to say his nickname, it came out Ship, Ship, and it sounded like she was saying Shemp. So people just started calling him Shemp because when she would call her son, it sounded like she was saying Ship. That's how I heard it. Um, Mo had a nickname too, but it didn't stick. It was one of those cases where each of the sons had nicknames. Well, that's like that in my family. My grandfather, Daddy Gramps, was always giving people sons and grandsons nicknames. Gambit says, "Not sure, Lance, but the Family Guy needed to go off the air about 10 years ago." I'm just scrolling down really quick. Emily says, "Zuplex, I'm guessing it's a Jewish thing." Yes, it was actually. And yeah, Lance, the fake Shemp. Yeah, it's a good catch there. And he says, "Zuplex, if memory serves, it's a nickname for Shem. His he." There you go. That actually sounds closer than mine, but it was the way the mother pronounced it. It's the way the mother, whichever case, it was the way the mother was pronouncing it. And Zuplex says Tracy should know if Shemp has any meaning. And Gary says, y'all do know that the Marx brothers changed their names. They sure did. And Zuplex says, why the P? Again, it was just when the mother said it. In fact, I thought it was that the name was something like shrimp, but she couldn't say shrimp, so she just said shimp. And so it became shimp, became shemp. And Teb says my username is an homage to the iconic Family Guy character and my birth year, 1986. Go 86! Year I graduated from high school. Gary says Babe was his nickname. Yes, the mother called him Babe. I thought I covered that. I'm sorry. Yes, his real name was Jerome. Jerome Horowitz. They changed their name to Howard. If you want the full story, but it was Maurice, um, uh, Jerome, and whatever Champ's damn name was. And let's just see. Uh, and he says, Zerblix, give me a minute to dust off my Ouija board. I'll ask his parents. Ooh, I love it. And then says, Indy, no Ouija board, okay? And Emily says, Indy, reflective surfaces work better for calling spirits. I'm going to look into a mirror and go, Emily, Emily, Emily. We'll see what happens. Actually, no, I'm not doing that. Tree says, I love the Marx Brothers too. Yeah, who didn't? I always wanted them to do some kind of crossover. Oh, I used to dream of that. Maybe throw in a little Abbott and Costello too, but I used to dream of that. Emily says Ouija boards were marketed in the 20th century. They're just board games. I've known some pretty scary stories involving Ouija boards, my dear. And let's see. This is calm down, Lance. Parents aren't dangerous. It depends on which ones you find, or what they suggest you do, or what they suggest to people to do, and where you see this is going. Uh, and Gambit says Weird Babe was Oliver Hardy's nickname as well. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, and Rachel says Shemp was Samuel. So was it Sam, but she pronounced it Shim? I all I know is, and I swear to God, I will put my hand I will put my hand on a stack of Bibles. The Torah, if it was one, I have one laying around. Mom. Anyway, I will tell you that Shemp was derived from the fact that that's how his mother pronounced his name. And Gary says, Tracy, that episode of Lucy is my favorite. And Emily says, Lance, if you pray, you're talking to spirits. Scary, huh? And Gary says, Gambit, Ollie gave Stymie a hat. So it says, Indy, consult the Ouija board for the trivia. And he says, Lance, well, I'd sure my Monopoly board. I'd use my Monopoly board instead, but the spirits keep getting stuck on free parking. That's actually very funny. And Emily says, y'all are way too scared of things you can control. No spirit can control you unless you let it. Fair enough. And Gary Carpenter says, Shemp and I share the same birthday. Oh, that's awesome. And Emily says, Indy, I hate when that happens. Ziblik says, question 5 of the trivia. Where did the name Ouija board come from? The French word yes and the German word yes. Uh, Christopher says, I have a ghost ball, Emily. I picked it up from Lucy Board gift shop. Oh, that's awesome. And trivia time, yes, it is. Until after I read Emily's comment, slapped ham is entertaining. I'll give that to him. If I remember correctly, I used to watch his videos a while back. I'm pretty sure I agree. Yes, they're very entertaining. And without further ado, I will do tonight's trivia. It's going to be on Rob Reiner as a tribute to his loss. Rest in peace. And as always, I shall give them in no particular order. Question 10. And if you were paying attention, I already given this one away. What was Mr. Reiner's affectionate nickname in his breakthrough role on All in the Family? Was it A, Meathead, B, Dummy, C, Mental Case, or D, Little Buddy? I shall repeat. What was Mr. Reiner's affectionate nickname in his breakthrough role on All in the Family? Was it A, Meathead, B, Dummy, C, Mental Case, or D, Little Buddy? Don't mind me asking. Doesn't really go. I was gonna say, if you guys were paying attention to this one, you should already know the answer. And yes, I'm not even gonna bother to make sure. Yes, A, Meathead. Moving on, number 9. Nearly single-handedly jump-starting the mockumentary subgenre with this work. Was it A, The Ruddles, B, This is Spinal Tap, C, Bad News on Tour, or D, Smile? I shall repeat. The man nearly single handedly jump started the whole mockumentary subgenre with this work. Was it A, The Ruttles, B, This is Spinal Tap, C, Bad News on Tour, or D, Smile? Tracy says, so a needle stitching thread. La, a note to follow. So T, a drink with jam and bread. Which brings us back to yeah, I know. I love Smile. Actually, it's a very 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 funny movie. Let's just see. All of us with the green globule. Anyway, you can't dust. What are you guys talking? You can't dust for vomit. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, now I get it. Now I get it. It took me a second. But yes, this is Spinal Tap. Remember, because 11 is one more. And I lost a question. Oh, I should have done 11 questions. Well, I'll figure something out. Number 8. Mr. Reiner appeared with one-time Mrs. Penny Marshall in what? Was it A, All in the Family, B, Balanski's Beauties, C, Laverne and Shirley, or D, The Odd Couple? I shall repeat. Mr. Rainier, Mr. Reiner, I'm sorry, it's sniffly today, appeared with one time Mrs. Penny Marshall in what? Was it A, All in the Family, B, Balanski's Beauties, C, Laverne and Shirley, or D, The Odd Couple? And yes, Zerplex, they did appear together on Saturday Night Live. They actually appeared in other things as well, but all of those other things aren't one of the selections. So, given the choices presented with, look, if you want to give yourself a half a point for SNL, go ahead. Um, Indy's guessing and incorrectly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be me. I'm sorry, but Emily says, Indy, were they married then? They actually, if I remember the timetable correctly, they were married in 1971 and stayed married until 81, 82, sometime around there. Yeah, they were only married for 10 years. It was funny because I always thought they were married forever. But no, they were only married for about 10 years. And she was actually married, I believe, one time before that. But she had a child before that, I know, but I don't know if she married the kids. I think she was married. Doesn't matter. It's not her trivia tonight. The correct answer is The Odd Couple. She played Myrna? I'm sorry, she played Myrna. And in one episode, Rob Reiner played her boyfriend. Moving forward to number 7. Oh, and speaking of Penny Marshall, even though it's not her trivia, the couple met through what? Was it A, on an audition for That Girl, B, through his work with Gary Marshall, C, through his work with Woody Allen, or D, they were both extras in The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming? I shall repeat. Speaking of Penny Marshall, the couple met through what circumstance? A, they were both auditioning for That Girl. B, through his work with Gary Marshall. C, through their work with Woody Allen. Or D, they were both extras in The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. They're all good guesses, actually. I come with great red herrings, don't I? You know, anyone could make a trivia game where really, really, really obvious answers stand out, but where's the fun in that? You know, that's actually how I come up with the trivia. I find a really good piece of trivia, a trivial fact, and then find three things which are almost as plausible, or at least related, Um, Gary says, I think Rob Reiner was on Batman. Yes, he was. He played a delivery boy or something. But I thought of that one, but I'm like, no, no. If we know it, if that was the case, we know it. The correct answer is actually B. um, Rob Reiner was working through Gary Marshall, whom he had actually met because Gary Marshall had worked with his father, Carl. So he had an association with Gary Marshall and met his sister. And hilarity ensues. But the correct answer is B. Oh, and answer your question though, they were both on Batgirl. Now you got me doing it. They were both on That Girl, but they were different episodes, and I don't think they knew each other then. And speaking of the devil, and the devil appears. It's the second time I've done that today. Lisa Fields is here and says, "Hey everybody, hey Thresh, so glad you could make it. Uh, the person lads in Pravda. Pravda. Spasibo, молодец. Anyway, Lisa, we've just started the trivia. You're welcome to join us for this much over the for the we're this close to the second half. So you join us at question 6 and then scores. Oh, and speaking of Gary Marshall, Gary Marshall and Rob Reiner met where? Was it A, The Steve Allen Show, B, Sid Caesar's Show of Shows, C, The Tonight Show with Jack Parr, or D, The Dick Van Dyke Show? You guys can count this one as your freebie if you want. I really shouldn't pontificate during my own trivia game, but anyway, I shall repeat. Speaking of Mr. Marshall, Gary Marshall, Rob Reiner and he met where? Was it A, on The Steve Allen Show, B, Sid Caesar's Show of Shows, C, The Tonight Show with Jack Parr, or D, The Dick Van Dyke Show? Guys, I just said Carl Reiner. It was The Dick Van Dyke Show. I just said his work with Carl Reiner. I'm just sorry. Just the irony that here I am thinking I gave the game away. Ah, you thought that was another red herring, didn't you? You thought I was trying to throw you off the trail. There's an old Monty Python bit ages ago where they ask a question: What is a hen? And one is it's a subatomic device. One says it's a small sprocket on a hoople dangle wether, and one of them is egg laying domesticated fowl. And then after they give the selection, they careful, it may not be the obvious choice. And then when you get the question wrong, it says, "Oh, you should have gone for the obvious." But anyway, Indy says the Blue Oyster Bar. Da 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 da. Tick 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 tick. All our times drives my wife crazy. There's a new medical show on. It's got the guy Noah Wiley Coyote, Willie Wyler. Anyway, he was the kid from ER. He now plays the grizzled old doctor. And in the commercial for the show, he says 120,000 people die every day. And I go, no, no, it's 40,000. And it drives my wife to despair because I do it every single time. And Lynn says, Lisa, I'm 55 now on the 10th. Happy birthday. I did, Lance, I thought I did say Noah Wiley. Ah, but in fairness, I said about 15 other names as well. So yes, Noah Wiley. Wile E. Coyote. Oh, someone actually gave me a score. Emily is 3 of 5. Gary says, here's my question about Gary and Penny Marshall. What movie were they in for Halloween? Ooh, good question. I got no idea. Teb says Noah Wiley. Oh, in the pit. The pit is the name of the show. Thank you. Indy says, is there any stat BOC can't help us with? No, no. BOC is they are the true. Say the word and be free. Say the word and be like me. Say the word I'm thinking of. Say the word, and that word is Blue Oyster Cult. And Bonanza. Let's just see here. But you think you the pit, and yes, 40,000. And yes, you of course got the reference. And Rachel says she's 4 to 5. Oh, Hocus Pocus. I did not know that. I did not know that. Zuplik says, was D the answer for question 6? Oh yes, D was it was the Dick Van Dyke Show. They worked Gary Marshall worked on the Dick Van Dyke Show. So yes, the correct answer was D. I'm sorry. I thought I made that clear. I was too busy high roading you. I'm very sorry. And Len says, Lisa, happy B day to your son. Yes, Lance actually, it was weird. Lance was literally, ah. Am I still here? I got some weird update trying to update on my computer. So if I'm not here, I apologize. But Lance was literally just saying, I wonder where Lisa is, among others. And Emily says to Zuper, whatever the Carl Reiner answer was, yeah, D. And Zuper says that would be D. Yes, D would be D. D. Oh, and by the way, Zuper, I'm so glad you're here tonight because I keep meaning to tell you. He's not here, but Danny Staten sent me a Christmas present. He sent me a very old, rare Mad magazine, and I think it would make the perfect Wretched recap. So I'm going to as you have often requested, do another wretched recap. I'll let you know on Facebook too because you didn't get the last post, and I still don't think you've seen my last wretched recap. But anyway, I'll let you know about this one. But there will be one in the works. So Zublix is 4 out of 5. Gary Carpenter is 5 out of 6. Impressive. Stewie is Teb is 4 out of 5. Tracy is 4 out of 5. Indy says, I don't know. Are you here? I'm either live or Memorex. You've gone away. I don't know how I'll ever get by. What's that from? Lynn says, I'm clairvoyant, I guess, here. Gary says, Danny was on RNG yesterday, and I was too. Tell RNG I said hi. I've been so remiss in my duties. I haven't appeared in one of her comment sections in AG. Oh, and by the way, I was at William Blake Hall. William, I know it's William Blake something. I believe it's William Blake Hall. Tell him I said hi, by the way. Indy, you would love William Blake Hall. And he says, if Danny were ever sent me a present, well, that's why I keep the Palm Squad on speed dial. Luke says, that would be great, T Pawns. Well, you're welcome in advance. And Lisa says, I used to love Mad Magazine as a kid. You have? You have number 1. That's amazing. That's awesome. But anyway, we should probably get back to the games. I'm going to get back to number 5. Oh, and by the way, Indy, love seeing you, by the way, on Atomic Snack Bar the other day. I keep forgetting you go to that site as well, by the way. Love Atomic Snack Bar. Great stuff. And I think I out John Wayne to you, but yours is pretty good. You guys remember my top 10 list, the superfluous top 10 lists? One of them was the top 10 John Wayne movies that wasn't a war movie or a Western. There's a bonus question. What was my answer in that top 10 list? Anyway, number 5. This is a good one. Mr. Reiner got the idea to name Stand By Me, from whom / what? It was on the radio on the way to his pitch meeting. B, it was his favorite song as a kid. C, he heard Kiefer Sutherland playing it during one of the takes, in between one of the takes. Or D, Stephen King suggested it to him. Yeah, I'm sure you guys all know the story. Stephen King wrote the short story called The Body. Rob Reiner did not want to call his movie The Body. He thought it was gross. So he did it a new name. When he started, it was called something like Working Title or Untitled Coming of Age Film. But anyway, but he got the idea to call it Stand By. In fact, let me read the question again because this is where we came in. Mr. Reiner got the idea to name Stand By Me, from whom / what? A, it was on the radio on his way to the pitch meeting. B, it was his favorite song as a kid. C, Kiefer Sutherland was playing it in between takes. Or D, it was a suggestion by Stephen King. Oh, speak of the devil, and the devil appears. That's the 3rd time I've used that reference tonight. Oh, if I could use it 6, would that be creepy? Denny Teen says, I started watching the Winds of War miniseries today from back in the day. Isn't that like 18 hours long? Don't get me wrong, it's a good series. And they made a sequel, and they got in so much trouble for exploiting children on a set, too. It was a really, really horrible story. And he says technically he got it from Ben E. King. You're welcome, everyone. Okay, technically you're right, but that's not one of the selections. Of the selections here, it is 16 hours. Oh, Face the Ace is here. Face the Ace says hello, Pops. Face the Ace, so good to have you here. Says hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And, I didn't care for the Winds of War. I thought it was too woke. You see what I did there? It was too. I'm kidding. I did like it. Jan Michael Vincent was in that, wasn't he? When he was still alive and good looking and alive. And Robert Mitchum. How could you not love Robert Mitchum? But anyway, I remember seeing that. I think I was like What year did that come out? Like 81? I think I was still in middle school when it came out, and I've always been a World War II buff. I have, like, always been a World War II buff. So, yeah, I don't think I saw all of the second one. There was a lot of notoriety behind the second one, but I didn't see the first one. Anyway, the correct answer in this case is C. Kiefer Sutherland was teaching the boys, the other kids, how to play guitar. And during one of the takes one day, he was playing an acapella. No, it was the reverse. What's not acapella? Instrumental version of "Stand by Me." And Carl Reiner just happened to like it. What's that song you're playing? He goes, "Stand by Me," and Reiner goes, "That's the name of the picture." So yes, it was Kiefer Sutherland's uh, academic playing of "Stand by Me." Number 4. Oh, and he says, if you had said it's too Herman woke, you might have doubled the chuckles to two, maybe. Okay, but you saw what I was going, right? Yay, me, I got it right. Emily says, J. Michael Vincent was so pretty. He was in Danger Island for you Banana Splits fans out there. And oh, the girl, Troop. Something Troop. Oh, I was like 7 and I had such a crush on her. Oh, with the little white short shorts. What was her name? All I can think is Helen Troop. That's not wrong. Her father was the aging doctor on Emergency, which I used to watch with my grandparents constantly when I was a child. Oh yes, Dan, we've covered that the loss of Bobby Burns. And Gary says 2 World War II movies: Patton, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Yankee Doodle Dandy. I believe. Well, it goes through the war period. It ends right. And I'll count it. You know what? I'll count it. Don't print that. Strictly off the record. Uh, and Gary, yes, Gary, Jan Michael Vincent was Bobby Troop. Bobby Troop. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Bobby Troop. How can I forget the name Bobby? I should be ashamed. But anyway, yes, Kiefer Sutherland. And yes, Jan Michael Vincent was cute, and so was Bobby Troop. And number 4. In addition to his King's classics, Rob Reiner was slated to direct this King masterpiece. Was it A, The Shawshank Redemption, B, Needful Things, C, Opt Pupil, or D, The Green Mile? Oh, Melissa Foster's here. Oh my gosh, Melissa, how you doing? Hi, Thresh Pondo. In case you missed it, I so did. I so did. I am dreadful. I am dreadful about the comics when I'm doing trivia because I have to stay on point. And point, in fact, I've been all over the place tonight. But I'm so glad you're here. I'm sorry I missed you. Thank you so much for being here, and feel free to play for the last few questions. Gary says Bobby Troop was married to the nurse on Emergency One. I never knew that. I never knew that. Wasn't she also wasn't she also married to one of the brothers in My Three Sons? There's a bell ringing in my head, but it's probably the tinnitus. And Lynn says, Dixie McCall or Julie London. What he said. Oh, did I repeat the question? Here, I'm going to repeat the question. In addition to his King's classics, Mr. Reiner was slated to direct this King masterpiece. Was it A, The Shawshank Redemption, B, Needful Things, C, A Pupil, or D, The Green Mile? And yes, I kind of fed that one to you. Only one of those was a King masterpiece, and that is The Shawshank Redemption. Oh. All right, no, the others aren't bad. The others aren't bad, but Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite movies. It was robbed that year. It was so robbed. It was supposed to be the best picture, but they gave it to Forrest Gump. Ooh, life is like a box of shut the hell up. I'm over it. Only took me 30 years. Number three, and that isn't to say I don't love Tom Hanks, I do. I'm surprised he didn't win the Academy Award for Castaway. When you stop laughing, I'll answer why. Anyone who could play a scene opposite of volleyball and not have people laughing at him in the theater is an amazing actor. Wilson! Godzilla! Godzilla! Wilson? Yeah. Anyway. Melissa Foster says, wasn't she played by Julie London? She had a music career before she got into acting. Maybe. Ziplik says, no, you are thinking of Bobby Troop's daughter, Ronnie. Okay, I'm getting a little lost here. Was Ronnie Troop in danger? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Now I got it. Now I got it. Now I got it. Thank you. Bobby Troop was the father. Even though he was an old man, they called him Bobby. Bobby Troop was the father. Bobby Troop was on emergency as the aging doctor, and his daughter, Ronnie Troop, was the really hot girl on Danger Island, who I believe was at least at some point romantically involved with one of the sons in My Three Sons. Not the first, I think it was the second one. I can never keep them straight. Um, Not Tim Kanzadine, not the one who at one point had been the middle kid because Tim Kanzadine was the original oldest brother. I think the original youngest brother before Ernie moved in and managed to survive Cousin Oliver syndrome. Because, see, in fairness to Cousin Oliver, they were able to replace a kid in My Three Sons. And I can't, in good conscience, say not miss a beat, but at least it still worked. Ernie was kind of a cool character. And boy, have I gotten off topic. But Indy's here. He'll save the day. Indy says, I'm surprised Wilson didn't win supporting actor. Hollywood is chock full of idiots. Yeah, thank you for saving the day. Emily says, you dare diss the Green Mile. Emily, I've talked about the Green Mile on several occasions. I love the Green Mile. It would have worked great as a mini series. You had to have done it like Game of Thrones. If it was like 8 to 10 installments and each time you told a separate story, it would have been amazing. Little secret, that's how the book is written. It's a collection of short stories. What they try to do is they try to like jam it all into one narrative. And it felt cramped. Oh, and by the way, it would have still worked because some things wouldn't be resolved until the end, sort of like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. You can have a microscopic, you can have a microcosmic story and have a running thread going through it. So you could have actually, I just again, and I think there's about a lot of things. Dune can't be done as a movie, even two movies. Dune needs to be done on Netflix as a 15-part miniseries. So that's what I think about Green Mile. So if you like the movie, don't get me wrong. There were some great performances. I thought Tom Hanks was good. There's some great scenes. I thought it was all filmed, but the story would have worked better as a miniseries. And Melissa Foster says, I think that it was Chip, played by Stanley Livingston, the real life brother of Ernie, played by Barry Livingston. Um, yes, yes. Okay, I think you are absolutely correct. I'm trying to. I haven't seen My Three Sons since I was supposed to be going to class at college, so yeah, the names kind of. I'm surprised I remember Ernie. I have no idea what Tim Considine's name was in My Three Sons, and my mom had a huge crush on him. Um, like David Courtnoy, and who else did she have a crush on? Oh, Neil Diamond. We were just talking about that actually. But anyway, no about my mother's bizarre crushes. Anyway, um, I seem to have strayed from my original point. So I'm going to make sure I answer. It was a Shawshank Redemption with apologies to the Green Mile. And now I'll go on to question three. Question three. Prior to directing one of the greatest rom coms of all time, he directed this romantic comedy classic. I'm sorry, 80s romantic comedy classic. Was it A, Moonstruck, B, The Sure Thing, C, Some Kind of Wonderful, or D, One Crazy Summer? My leg just fell asleep. I'll come in again. Prior to directing one of the greatest rom coms of all time, he directed this 80s romantic comedy classic. Was it A, Moonstruck, B, The Sure Thing, C, Some Kind of Wonderful, or D, One Crazy Summer? Lisa Henning was really married to Steve Elliott from Petticoat Junction. I never knew that. Although I will say to this day, I remember when I was like little, when I was like 4 or 5. My grandmother didn't like me watching Petticoat Junction. It was too risque. I know. Apparently, and this never even occurred to me as a child, because they skinny dip in the water tower in the opening credits. You don't see a blessed thing. It's this like cute little in joke that their tradition is they take a dip before their train shows up. But I don't know because of that, my grandmother wouldn't let me watch Petticoat Junction when I was like preschool because it was too risque. Woman would be turning over in her grave nowadays. Actually, she couldn't. We spiked her into the coffin with a stake. That should fix her. Anyway, the correct answer is um, B, The Sure Thing, which is a surprisingly good movie. I mean, I saw it with a couple of my friends. We thought it would just be this sort of uh, 80s sex comedy thing based on the opening credits. But it's this cool road movie, and the chemistry between Cusack and whatever her name is was good. It has a small part with oh oh the ex Mrs. Susan Sarandon, who was also in Shawshank Redemption. Um, the clone of one of my daughter's best friends from high school, and I'm so ashamed I can't think of his name. And I'm afraid to look at the comments because I know 50 of you already said what his name was. Um, Funny Robert. No, I'm Funny Robert. Love you, Bubba. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Chris Sarandon was married to Susan Sarandon. No, the guy from Bull Durham, the guy, uh, it's killing me. And he says, "I don't want you watching that, Bobby. All those people are naked under their clothes." Yeah, pretty much. I didn't even know what skinny dipping was when I was 4. Uh, ah, Tim Robbins. Thank you. It was like a spike being ripped on my head. I just had a mental block. I couldn't think of Timothy Robbins. Oh, Emily, you think I'm Robert Redford? That's very kind of you. No, I think I've actually been looking that he is. But yes, Timothy Robbins has a small part in The Sure Thing. He plays one of the religious students who agree to give them a ride home, but then throws them out of the car because they're infidels. Thank God Christian nationals aren't something we have to worry about anymore these days, huh, gang? Number two, Mr. Reiner worked with fellow national treasure Steve Martin while working where? A. The Muppet Movie, B. Batman, C. The Smothers Brothers, or D. Mr. Landlord? The jerk. Again, I should have said first. In fact, I think in the early version of this question, I said prior to. And you know what? I'm going to add that back in because that was actually in the original version of the question. I cut it down because it was too long. Prior to the film The Jerk, Mr. Reiner worked with fellow National Treasure Steve Martin while working where? Was it A, The Muppet Movie, B, Batman, C, The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, or D, Mr. Landlord? And Melissa Foster says Meredith McRae, before she got to on Petticoat Junction, her character married the eldest son, Mike, on My Three Sons. Tim Considine. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes, I do know he left after he got married. I remember it vaguely. It was still black and white then, wasn't it? And before you laugh, a lot of shows did go from black and white to color. I a lot of times miss the transition in reruns. I used to watch a black and white set. We had a black and white set when I was young and poor. And he says, sometimes I feel like rules have been changed more for me than with Charlemagne. I'm sorry. No, honest to God, in the original version of the question, I did say prior to working with him in The Jerk, Mr. Renner worked with fellow National Treasure Steve Martin while working where? And it's funny because there is no context without that little tidbit. But anyway, based on the offerings offered you, was it A, The Muppet Movie, B, Batman, C, The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, or D, Mr. Landlord? Emily, there are no rules here. It's all for fun. If you guys all want to give yourself 10 out of 10 when we get scores, I don't mind. I'll give them to you. Oh, and I just thought of the number 11 question because 11 is one more. Hi, Mrs. Thrush again. She's back. They were all very despondent when you left. She's like, I am sure. Yes, I married a Valley girl. Um, she really thought that was funny. You can't have valleys on Cape Cod. We call them salt lakes. Because when the water flows in and you have a bay, and I don't have to impress you people. Anyway, the number one question is Rob Reiner took the name of his production company from this often banned classic novel. Was it A, Lord of the Flies, B, 1984, C, Slaughterhouse 5, or D, The Castle? I shall repeat. Oh, they're all saying hi again. Mr. Reiner took the name of his production company from this often banned classic novel. Was it A, Lord of the Flies, B, 1984, C, Slaughterhouse 5, or D, The Castle? Oh, what was the last answer? I thought I answered the last answer. Oh, I didn't answer the last answer. Silly me. You see, there are no rules here. The answers are in here. Make up your own. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Smothers Brothers. They both wrote for the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. And they did later work together on The Jerk. And Indy was right. Indy, give yourself a goddamn bonus point. We have fun. Oh, and the bonus question is which of those novels have I not read? One of those I haven't read. And I guess the best way to determine that is probably the only one I haven't talked about at length at one point or another on these chats and in my show. But anyway, the correct answer is D, Lord of the Flies. The Castle Rock is where the hunters hang out. It's this big outcrop of rock, which I don't know why you would have it on Coral Island, but it's this big outcrop of rock that has some type of natural barrier protection thing. And for some reason, there's a loose rock on top of that, like on Vasquez Rock in Star Trek, where you push on the Gorn. And for what earthly purpose would a big loose rock just be at the top of a rock formation? Wouldn't it have long since rolled to the bottom? I don't know why loose rocks stay on the top of rock formations. But in any event, um, Lord of the Flies is the correct answer. And if anyone wants to guess which of those books I haven't read and give themselves a bonus point, go for it. But the correct answer is A, Lord of the Flies. Gary's already given himself 8 out of 10. I guess nobody wants to guess at the bonus, but okay. Tracy's 7 out of 10. Very good, Bubba. Zuplix is 7 out of 10. Christopher says, A, Zuper. Gary says, watch your language, young man. I'm sorry. Sorry. I just, Rachel's 9 out of 10. Lisa's 5 out of 5. You can watch the other half in replay and then tell us how you did. Melissa is, well, I got 2 out of 5. Not bad for coming in late. No, my trivia is tough. And let's see other scores or guesses or anything. Ah, yes, 5 out of 5. Ooh, do trivia on Bewitched? I thought I tried that once. Didn't we already do Bewitched one time? Emily says, I don't even freaking remember where I am. 7 of 10, 6 out of 10. Heck if she knows. Give yourself 7 out of 10, young lady. I know we were kind of all over the place tonight. And Rachel says, your trivia is tough if you know the answers. LOL. Good point. Christopher says I get 2 out of 10. Hey, thank you for playing. Thank you for your persistence. And cool. Okay, we're actually coming up on that time. So, any last interjections, criticisms, corrections? You folks love to correct me, and I'll be honest with you, it's actually fun to be corrected, particularly by you folks, because I must confess, a lot of my recollections aren't what they should be. I'm pretty close, but sometimes I remember things what we used to call heuristically. At least I think it was called heuristically. So please feel free to correct if you wish to. Emily says, I've done more traveling on your live streams than I've done in the test of, I'm guessing that's the rest of my almost 58 years. Well, thank you. That's a great compliment. Thank you. I appreciate that, Miss Emily. You're a mensch. Oh, and speaking of mentions, Tracy says, gotta run see everyone on Dave's show. Probably not gonna make it. I have an early morning. So if I'm not there, please, Tracy, Bubla, I beg you, tell Dave that I'm sorry I'm not there and that I love him and everyone there. And of course you guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing you very, very soon. Thank you. Superlick says, Emily, we got lost in My Three Sons, The Green Mile, and Danger Island controversy. I know, but that was half the fun of the show. It was literally half the show. And then it was rest. This is my rest. Zublik says good night and happy Hanukkah, Tracy. Yes, indeed. Happy Hanukkah, Bubba. Tomorrow's the last day. I believe I lost track somewhere. A lot of folks saying good night. Gary Carpenter, Meli Kiliki Maka to you as well, by the way. I have a Polynesian cousin, by the way. So I every Christmas I always send him that sentiment. Melissa Foster says, R.I.P. Rob Reiner, gone much too soon. It's devastating loss. Rachel says, good night, all. Zublick says, which one do you prefer, T-Pawns? Which one of which do I prefer? Of the things that we were sidetracks we were having. Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite sidetrack. Although I did love Danger Island as a kid. Love the Banana Splits. I remember when we moved from one town to another, and when we moved to a new town, they started school earlier and ended earlier. And I thought I'd be able to get home in time to watch the Banana Splits, but I didn't allow for the bus, so I still didn't watch it. But I remember loving the Banana Splits and always watching it on days where I didn't have school. And he says Castle Rock Entertainment was named in honor of King, who named the main town after the location in The Lord of the Flies. Just thought you might like to know, Bob. Thanks for the trivia. Did I not say it was from Lord of the Flies? But yeah, thank you for fleshing that out. Oh, and by the way, just before he scrolls over it, I have never read The Castle. I've never read The Castle by Franz Kafka. I have read Slaughterhouse 5 in 1984, and of course, Lord of the Flies. I think I've read Lord of the Flies 4 or 5 times. Is one of my favorite, books in my youth. Explains a lot, doesn't it? A lot of people saying goodnight to one another. Emily says, "I haven't been a Dave channel member since May, not having incomes." Oh, I'm so sorry. 10 was 8 out of 10. Zibble says, "My 3 sons, The Green Mile or Danger Island." Yes, of the 3, I will stick with Danger Island. That is my favorite of the 3. And Emily says, "Did he ever answer the question as to which book he didn't read?" Oh, I just did just now. It was The Castle. Nobody seemed to care though. So, but it's like, what number am I thinking? I suppose. But Melissa says, "Good night, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas to all, to you as well, Bubba. Take care. A happy solstice to you too, my Wiccan. Was that proper? I'm not sure, but anyway, yes, happy winter solstice to you too. By the way." And Melissa says, "Sorry to hear that, Emily. I was wondering what happened." And yeah, happy solstice. And Emily says, "Melissa, I was outdoor dashing, had a wreck. Now no car and no job. Very, very sorry, miss. Very sorry." Uh, and someone says he just dissed the Green Mile, Emily. But I explained it. It wasn't that I didn't like the Green Mile. I thought it would have worked better as a mini series, and I will stand by that. I'm not saying the movie was bad. I did enjoy the movie. I did thoroughly enjoy the movie. The Shawshank Redemption, though, is outstanding, although not without its criticisms. I've had a couple of myself, actually, but I do love The Green Mile. Oh, and if you're very good, next time I'll tell the Clancy Brown story of how he got the part in Highlander, if I haven't already. And yet, a lot of people feeling that, yeah, Emily, it does suck you to have a car miss. That's very, very, very sad. It's tough. It's tough not to be able to get around. But anyway, it's the 8:30 mark, guys. I've had so much fun tonight. You guys, you can just make this so much fun. It's so interactive, and it just. I think we have more fun when we go on tangents than we try to stay on a straight track. But either way, as long as you guys are having fun, that's all that really matters. And I got to tell you, I'm really looking forward to the next one. Zoomerplex, look forward to my next Wretched recap. Lisa, I do have another creepy classic. It's going to be a surprise. This is the week of Christmas, so I'm not sure. I've been having a tough time getting content out as a rule anyway. So I'll have to see. It'll probably be sometime in the very early new year. But anyway, until the next time, be good, be safe, be careful. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.